What's the most expensive mistake your cheap parents ever made? My parents were so cheap, they washed Ziploc bags and hung them to dry on a clothesline in the kitchen. They diluted dish soap with water until it was basically colored water. They kept the house at 58 degrees in winter and told us to wear more layers. So when Dad announced he'd found an incredible deal on a new roof, I knew something bad was about to happen. $800, he said, waving a business card at dinner. This guy Fernando will do the whole roof for $800. Mom's eyes lit up like he'd won the lottery. The three quotes they'd gotten from licensed contractors were all around $12,000, but Fernando, who they met in the parking lot at Home Depot, would do it for less than $1,000. My sister Elena tried to be the voice of reason. Dad, that's suspiciously cheap. Nobody does a whole roof for $800. But Dad was already sold. He kept saying things like he's just starting his business and he doesn't have all that overhead. Fernando showed up that Saturday with two teenagers and a rusty pickup truck. No company logo, no uniforms, just three guys with hammers and a ladder that looked like it came from a garage sale. Dad paid him $400 up front, which Fernando said he needed for materials. They started ripping off the old shingles, tossing them straight into our yard. No tarp, no dumpster, just shingles everywhere. Our neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, came over concerned, but Dad assured her these guys knew what they were doing. You don't need fancy equipment when you have skill, he said. By noon, they'd stripped half the roof bare. That's when Fernando announced he needed to leave to get more supplies. He'd be back tomorrow to finish. Dad gave him the other $400, and Fernando drove off with his crew, leaving our roof half naked with storm clouds building in the distance. It started raining at 3 a.m. Not a light drizzle, but a massive thunderstorm that dumped 3 inches in 2 hours. Water poured through the exposed sections like waterfalls. It destroyed the ceiling in my bedroom, Elena's room, and the hallway. The insulation turned into soggy pink soup that dropped in chunks onto our beds. We spent the night moving furniture, putting buckets everywhere, using every towel we owned to soak up water. Mom was crying while Dad kept calling Fernando's phone, straight to voicemail every time. The business card had no address, just that name and number. When the sun came up, we saw the real damage. Water had seeped into the walls, warping the drywall. The hardwood floors in the hallway had already started buckling. The ceiling looked like it had smallpox with all the water stains and sagging spots. Elena's laptop was destroyed, along with her college textbooks she'd left on her desk. My guitar, which I'd saved 2 years to buy, was waterlogged beyond repair. Dad drove around for hours looking for Fernando's truck, checking Home Depot, construction sites, everywhere. Gone. The number was disconnected by Monday. The business card led nowhere. Mom called the insurance company, but they wouldn't cover it. Unlicensed contractor, cash payment, no permits pulled. We were on our own. The emergency roof repair alone cost $5,000, and that was just to make it stop leaking. The inside damage was worse. New ceilings, new insulation, drywall replacement, floor repairs, mold treatment because water had been sitting in the walls. Final cost, $37,000. We had to take out a home equity loan. My college fund, which they'd been saving since I was born, went to fixing the house. Elena had to take out student loans she'd avoided for 3 years. I got a job at Target working nights to help with my own expenses. The house still smelled like mildew 6 months later. The kicker was when our neighbor told us Fernando had approached her too. She'd Googled roof repair scams and found his picture on 3 different warning sites under different names. If my parents had spent 5 minutes on Google or paid for one real contractor, none of this would have happened. Dad never talked about it afterward, just went quieter than usual. Mom stopped mentioning their savings account because there wasn't one anymore. They still washed those Ziploc bags, still diluted the soap, still kept the house freezing. But now it was because they were paying off the loan, not because they were cheap. Elena graduated last year and said something at dinner that made Dad leave the table. You know what? I learned something valuable from the roof situation. Sometimes the cheapest option is the most expensive mistake you'll ever make. She was right. $800 to save $11,000 cost them. $37,000. 2 college funds, and honestly, some of Dad's spirit. He used to be proud of his bargain hunting. Now he just looked tired whenever anyone mentioned home repairs. I think about Fernando sometimes. Wonder how many families he destroyed trying to save money. But mostly I think about my parents, still living in that house with its patched up roof and water-stained memories, paying $500 a month for the next 15 years because Dad couldn't resist a deal.